welcome to the first podcast hosted by culture360.asef.org, the arts and culture portal of the Asia-Europe Foundation. Today, we will be speaking with the organizers of Cross Festival, a performing arts and contemporary dance festival, which is currently taking place in Verbania, Italy. This podcast is part of a media partnership between Culture 360 and Cross Festival. We will be talking to Antonella Cirigliano, Cross Festival Director, Giulia Poli, Curator of the festival's Asia program, and Tommaso Sacchi, founder of Cross Award International Art Prize, to know more about the festival and particularly its commitment to developing collaborations with Asia. We start with Giulia Poli. Giulia, you are an Italian independent curator and producer. You're based here in Singapore since a couple of years. You have been invited by Cross Festival to curate the Asian section of the festival and to coordinate projects and collaborations with Asian artists and organizations. Can you tell us a bit more about how Cross is developing its collaborations with Asia?
Thank you, Valentina. It is a pleasure to be here. As you mentioned, I moved to Singapore at the beginning of 2018, and I immediately understood how poor is the Western knowledge of Asian culture and art. So it was very clear to me that my presence in Asia should be an occasion to create bridges and collaborations. Therefore, I am really grateful to Cross Festival and its director, Antonella Cirigliano, who has been the first to foresee how important it is to have someone on the ground who can help in the creation of new possibilities of exchanges. And I strongly believe that arts and culture have played and will continue to play an important role in the exchanges between the two continents, Asia and Europe, and also its people. And in particular, festivals have made a key contribution to this process, and they have been occasions to develop a mutual understanding. In fact, I believe that in a way, festivals have a transformative power, and also they are able to trigger social harmony. So by providing access for the audiences to a diversity of artists, cultural ideas and projects, festivals can really help to improve social inclusiveness. And therefore, my role as coordinator of relationship with Asia for Cross is crucial to open the festival to foreign artists and ideas. And sometimes it is difficult for people to understand my job. And in fact, it includes many activities. I would say that my main duty is mostly to travel as much as I can and to get to know local artists and organizations. And therefore, I attend as many festivals and platforms as possible. And sometimes I would even go to see rehearsals and discuss with the artists to see the research process. And this activity of seeing things and meeting people may seem superficial, but it is actually key as it leads to different results. So first of all, through seeing many shows, I'm able to bring back to the festival audience what I have discovered and learned. And in fact, this scouting is very important to create a successful program. But my job is not only to find good shows to bring back to the festival, it is also to create connections and networks. I would say that besides promoting the festival, I'm able to use these contacts and networks to develop new projects and also to share the best practices between many partners. And for sure, collaboration is always a chance to bring new dynamics, to stimulate and challenge, but it also takes a lot of time. So the groundwork for meaningful collaborations starts early, sometimes even years beforehand. to be able to build connections and trust between different entities. So beyond the artistic programming, the creation of these long-term relationships with artists and organizations will lead to different results like co-productions, collaborative projects, and also artist residencies. So building networks internationally is a complex practice and of continuous learning. But by constantly sharing information with other colleagues, I'm ultimately able to promote the festival, and I can contribute every day to its importance and visibility, not only at home, but worldwide.
Thank you, Julia. Yes, indeed, I think it is very important to explain this because it's not an easy job to define in a way.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you with my second question, unfortunately, it's about the present situation, what we are living now. This year, the original edition of Cross Festival was supposed to happen in June, but because of the COVID-19 pandemic, things have changed. But however, the festival did happen, and it's actually currently happening with a special edition, which in a way involves more the artists and audiences that are already in Italy and already in that area. So in this context, Julia, I wanted to ask you in which way the pandemic has actually affected the type of collaboration with Asia that you've just been explaining to us earlier.
So Antonella I think she will speak later on about the new edition of the festival that we have conceived. Yes. But from my side, I have to say that this situation has been devastating to the arts community. Unfortunately, I think that most people do not understand the impact of COVID-19 on the art industry. Because since the start of the year, the global art world has seen a string of cancellations and postponements, and on our side, 6 months of projects already planned just evaporated. And together with all the hard work that we have been done in the last year, so I cannot lie, it has been hard. And we should also mention that COVID-19 has intensified a long-term pattern of decline in financial support for the arts. And so the current crisis is particularly critical for the sector because of the sudden and massive loss of revenue opportunities. This is especially true for the more fragile players like independent artists and producers. And now, after the full suspension of activities for the theater sector, now we have seen a partial reopening in many countries, but with very strict regulations. So as a result, we had to adapt swiftly to new ways of operating around these austere circumstances. And we found alternative ways of working and meeting, mostly online. But I have to say, without the possibility of traveling, most of the collaborative projects have been stuck. And it is obvious that the restrictions go against the idea that each of us has of theater. Theater as intended as an encounter, as contamination. So when there are anti-contagion rules, there are really anti-theater rules. But as a whole, I would say that the industry is showing a steely determination to ride out of the storm. And I think that being artists, in a way, we are more resourceful, and our adaptability and improvisational skills are pretty remarkable. So we will make it to the other side, stronger and better.
Thank you, Julia. Yeah, I agree. And I hope that, I think we are all in the same boat in a certain way, but the power of resilience of the arts is really strong. So let's hope that that's going to happen. We'll come back to this. I want to now go to Antonella. As I mentioned before, Antonella is the director of Cross Festival. I wanted to ask you, Antonella, a little bit more about the history of the festival and the goals, and in particular, some more information about this edition, which, as I mentioned before, is a bit of a special edition this year.
Hello, hi, and first of all, thanks to you, Valentina, for the role you represent, and of course, for supporting the relationship between Asia and Europe, also in this time and in this situation. Yes, our project, Cross Project, was born 10 years ago on the shores of Lake Maggiore, that is in north of Italy, in a highly suggestive natural context and landscape. Cross Project works on the concept of enhancement of the territory, hosting a fertile dialogue between cultural heritage, landscape, and performing arts. It is articulated in three main activities: Cross Festival, Cross Residence, and Cross Award. The festival is characterized by a multidisciplinary program centered on contemporary dance that gathers the most visionary expressions of today. The festival is also a reference point for performing arts and contributes to the international debate, whose fundamental premises must today be the continuous research towards linguistic experimentation and the responsibility towards the social context in which it is born. Then the residence program favors the relationship between artistic creation and the territory. The residency program acts as a tool in supporting production. Thanks to the possibility to develop artistic residencies all year long, involving the citizens, the city, urban spaces, and specific targets of public, cross-residence is always an open window on the world, on experimentation and research. And at last, we produce Cross Award, that is an international award curated by Tommaso Sacchi, addressed to new works in the field of performing arts. Cross Award aims to stimulate artistic investigation and expression relating to the union of different styles and genres, evaluating multi-language practices and the mix of technique and codes as reward factors. The aim of Cross Award is to point out new productions that create a dialogue between body and stage action, languages, and musical composition. And of course, this year, we create a new platform, a special edition for the program 2020 that propose paths of performing arts, dance, theater, music in urban and naturalistic space. It's a platform that is curated exceptionally for the situation that we are all living now. Yeah.
Thank you, Antonella. Well, I can't, unfortunately, not ask you also in which way you think the festival has changed or will change because of this situation of COVID-19. Can you tell us what you think about this?
Yes, sure. Our program has undergone a profound transformation in light of the world crisis that we all have been experiencing. Certainly the most important crisis of our time, of our generation. We realize that acting at this time is crucial, and we deeply believe that the cultural sector must take responsibility for offering tools that help us regain confidence and create ways to regenerate civil society. Together with the artists, the authors, the designer, and together with our audience, the organizer, the professional, and all our partners, that are involved in the project, we activate tools of participation that will be useful to us in this new world that we are facing, not without surprise, with a different look. For this reason, we decide to go out in the streets and paths of our territory through the practice of walking together. So we propose more than 15, 20 site-specific projects that we developed on the months of July, August, and September to regain, through walking, our physical and metaphysical spaces. I want to say also that the decision that we will take in the next months will probably shape the world for years to come. What we will decide today in cultural terms, will remain for a long time, and I think we are all involved in this new cultural process.
Thank you, Antonella. I would like to give now the opportunity to speak to Tommaso. As I mentioned before, Tommaso is the Deputy Mayor for Culture, Fashion and Design of the city of Florence in Tuscany, but you are also the founder of the Cross Award International Art Prize. And today I wanted to chat with you a little bit more about this and get to know from you a little bit more about this award.
Hello, my name is Tommaso Sacchi. Now I'm the Deputy Mayor for Culture, Fashion and Design of the city of Florence in Tuscany, Italy. But I was the founder of the Cross Award International Prize, an award that addresses first works in the performing arts like dance, theater and music. And the project was born in 2014, back in the times. Cross Award aims to stimulate the investigation and artistic expression relating to the union of different styles and genres, evaluating as rewarding factors multi-language practices and the mixture of techniques and codes relating to different performing arts fields. The goal of the competition is to identify new productions that put into dialogue body language and scene actions with the music composition. So one prize with 2 juries and 5 residencies. A jury of experts, a jury pool of critics, artists, curators and designers. We've been hosting several intellectual figures of Italy and international recognized relevant figures of the culture field in the jury, in the expert jury pool, and then a local jury that is related to the territory of the Lago Maggiore. They together will select 5 projects according to the strictly artistic and technical criteria. So Cross Award is part of the Cross Residency. Artists working on the territory is the claim of the residencies and of the prize. And now we have arrived at the 5th edition of the International Cross Awards for artists and companies in the field of performing arts and music, with a very particular attention to the original productions focused on the close interactions between artistic creations and environment, intended to be as landscape, territory, and community. With respect to the profound changes that shakes our everyday life, Cross Awards 2020 aims to be the incubator of images and practices which are engaged on writing of the present as well as a reappropriation of the public space. So I think it is very important to support a prize that came into a territory that is not in the common trajectories of the contemporary art. So I am supporting and I'm wishing all the best to this prize. Also in the aims and in the desire of creating new connections with international experiences. So now Lago Maggiore, the region of the lake where it is settled, is one of the places to be for international residencies, thanks to the very important work that has been done by the jury pools, by the local jury pool, by Antonella Cirigliano, and me, myself, as a founder of the prize. And I'm very happy to have this opportunity of a presentation to the international scene of what we've done during the last 5 years. So thank you so much and good luck.
Thank you, Tommaso. let's go back to Julia and ask her a bit more about the future of Cross Festival. What is the plan for 2021? Can you give us a sneak peek about what we will see next year?
Sure. I can't spoil the surprise, but I can say that we are already working on a special focus that will be dedicated to Asian art. And it will be a platform that celebrates, promotes, and provokes dialogue despite this situation of uncertainty. And so we will showcase contemporary artists from different disciplines, from music to visual arts, with always a special attention to contemporary dance. And thanks to a careful research that we have been doing, we have the specific aim of avoiding mystification and exoticism. We really do not want to bring the stereotypical representations of contemporary dance from Asia that we often see in the Western festivals. Therefore, we will bring together a curated selection of some of the most interesting artists from all across the region, from Singapore, from India, Indonesia, Taiwan, and also Korea. And so many artists and many different countries. And we will be very proud to showcase the strength and vitality of all these local art scenes.
Thank you. We're really looking forward to that. It's not that long, I think only a few months, and we will already be next year. So let's see how that will turn around. Okay, so maybe going back a little bit again to the present situation, but let's see it also with some positivity and with an optimistic note, I would say. This situation of COVID-19, obviously, it's been extremely dramatic, and as we heard from you, from Antonella, the changes are needed, and the adjustment are necessary. But do you think also that this kind of really exceptional situation we are living now could eventually bring some positive changes to the art sector and to cultural exchanges? What do you think about this?
Well, artists and curators are using this time to reflect on our practices. And it is true that this pandemic brings hardships, but it is also true that it offers opportunities to learn and to evolve, and hopefully to reboot the system in a more sustainable and responsible way. So for sure, this time of contemplation can be useful for the industry to reassess its operations and its strategies, and also it can be an occasion to reflect on the value of art itself. I believe that some existing tensions internal to the sector have been exacerbated. In a way, this unprecedented situation exposed problems that were already there, such as, for example, the precarious jobs, the imbalance between the major performing arts organizations and the small to medium and independent companies, but also the overproduction in the sector, the funding system that is based mostly on numeric criteria instead of quality. And now with the audience that is reduced and the system completely upside down, something must change. So it is really in time of tension and difficulties like today that change happens. And I think that now we have a great opportunity for change, for sure. But I would also like to say that the most important is to be united as a sector, to make really people understand the importance of art. Because this rhetoric of calling the cultural sector non-essential is very dangerous. And it is a result, I believe, of decades of wrong cultural policies. So this crisis made the problem arose, and we have the occasion to reflect again on why art is relevant, and I have to say absolutely essential.
Thank you, Julia. I think I'm going to move now towards the end of our conversation. And my closing question is for both of you. And it would be about how we can continue to work together in these difficult times, time where we don't see each other, where mobility is definitely reduced. And mostly I wanted to ask you, what are your recommendations for other initiatives for small festivals and residency programs that are struggling right now due to the impact of COVID-19? Can both of you maybe answer this question?
Well, from my side, in a certain way, the worldwide pandemic has made tangible the globalization. And it made clear that coordination and international collaboration are essentials in times of trouble. Because the only way that we can come through this is together. And the crisis is reminding us that no country can tackle this issue alone. And cooperation is crucial for addressing existing challenges in every sector. So we do not know what a post-COVID-19 world will look like. However, we do know that high quality international cooperation is fundamental for dealing with existing and emerging global challenges. And art and culture are vital tools to the development of this cooperation. So we really cannot close the borders and try to create a golden cage isolated by others. This attitude is very dangerous, and I think it will lead to new forms of nationalism and isolationism. And I want to stress once again that cultural mobility is critical for the creation of empowered and free citizens.
Yes, and I totally agree with you, Julia. On a more practical note, as Valentina is asking for recommendations, I think that innovation is a key to long-term survival. And of course, we believe also that artists can give to us a vision for the future. But first, the phased easing of restrictions means that arts organizations will have to rethink what is their understanding of a public event and find new ways to limiting tickets, managing queues, maintaining social distance. What Cross Festival has done this year is a very good example of powering through and exploring creative ways for sustainable practices during this period. Organizations should anticipate permanent changes to audience demographics, with younger audiences less concerned with risk and older audiences remaining vigilant even after a relatively safe level of population immunity is acquired. More in general, we are already experiencing a drop in audience revenues and an increase in expenses. To compensate, organizations will need boosted financial support from alternative sources, mergers, partnership, and new collaborations will be essential to create capacity and synergies to allow previously unimaginable change. Visionary leadership and good governance will be needed now more than ever.
Yeah, absolutely, Antonella. And I think that we should also address the digitalization of art experiences, because as the art scene adjusts to alternative working methods, many are going online. But there is the need of developing a digital sensibility. So both artists and curators, producers, festivals, they need to reflect and research this new way of fruition, because processes of recording and mediation will increasingly be integrated into productions for purpose of streaming and digital works. So this sensibility is also likely to inform the creative process itself. Because while multimedia events are nothing new, the development of transmedia narratives and hybridized augmented reality experiences will be on the rise. But at the same time, while the internet offers an avenue to engage with audiences, we are also seeing that there are a lot of constraints. Because while all our works are best enjoyed live, this is particularly applicable for works whose experience is greatly dependent on its corporality or the space it inhabits. So I think that the physicality of dance has a specific way of working, and it really needs the emotional connection of the moment in a shared space. And this connection cannot be achieved through digital tools. So anyway, let's try to be positive, as Valentina said. So we shouldn't worry too much. And as Antonio Latella, an Italian theater director, recently said, as long as man needs rituals to find himself surrounded by a story, theater will exist.
Thank you very much to both of you. This was extremely interesting and I think extremely relevant. I would like to wrap up this conversation with the last intervention by Donatella Ferrante. Mrs. Ferrante is the Executive Director of the Department for Live Performances at the Italian Ministry of Culture and Heritage, or MIBAC. MIBAC has supported the festival and will continue to do so, particularly developing its international collaboration, as explained by Mrs. Ferrante in this short message.
I speak from the General Direction of the Department for Live Performances here in Rome at MIBACT, and it is with great pleasure that I take this opportunity to greet all of you, starting with Ms. Valentina Riccardi, who coordinates ASEF, and all those who participated and who are working on this project and this podcast. It is particularly important for us to know how the professionals in this sector are rethinking and remodeling projects developed before the pandemic in a proactive way. I believe that cross-festival and Crisol projects are examples, in both cases, of good practices of resilience and reconversion. This gives us particular satisfaction because it means that these projects, in which the Ministry has believed and which it has trusted and supported, have the skills and abilities to face even moments of crises like this and to face them with foresight. For this reason, I thank the director Antonella Ciriliano. I thank Giulia Poli. I thank Tommaso Sacchi, who directs and chairs a jury of particular importance. I would like to focus only on one aspect, that is the boarding pass funding program. The program is at its second edition and it is funding the Crisol project. It is a program that the Ministry was able to create thanks to particular funds, and it has allowed us and has allowed all of you to finally set the international work into a medium-term perspective. The program aim is to give opportunity and support to a vision of internationality in its complexity, a vision that is made not only of products that tour abroad, but on the contrary, a vision made primarily of comparison, exchange, and shared processes. Shared processes that until a few months ago only take place through medium and long periods of residency. And that now, for a period that we all trust is as limited as possible, must find alternative forms. Nonetheless, this experience of yours, this conversion of yours, shows us first of all that it is possible to continue this dialogue. Moreover, thanks precisely to the participation of intergovernmental institutions, this dialogue can expand and be advertised even more widely. And this is fundamental because, in our opinion, it represents a good practice. Finally, that dialogue trains the minds of artists and programmers to be able to look to the aftermath. I believe that there is no detachment, no interruption between what is being done now in a mediated and digital form and what will be done afterwards, because the vocation is clear and precise. So I wish you once again good luck with your work and thank you.
Ecco, quindi auguro a tutti voi buon lavoro e ancora grazie.
In closing this conversation, I would like to thank once again all the speakers that took part in it today, Antonella Cirigliano, Giulia Poli, Tommaso Sacchi, and Donatella Ferrante. Do join us for the second part of this podcast series, where we will speak to the participants of the international project CRISOL, Creative Processes, a collaboration between a network of 7 Italian and 14 international partners in Asia and Europe, supported by the Ministry of Culture of Italy. Thank you again for listening. We hope you have enjoyed this conversation on arts and culture, hosted by Culture 360, the arts and culture portal of the Asia Europe Foundation.